How are you?
Great, thanks. Thanks for coming back.
No problem.
So can you tell us a bit about yourself for the new people?
Well, my name is Mel. Um I'm on Facebook and YouTube as Reptilian Hybrid Housewife, and I'm just here to share knowledge. Reptilian Hybrid Housewife, and it's on YouTube, and I'm just now starting out.
So I'll just start with asking you about ley lines and Stonehenge. Do you know anything about them?
Oh yes. Well, ley lines are rivers of energy, and they will meet at a certain point. And at these points, you'll often find many structures, architecture, monuments, things of that nature. As far as Stonehenge is concerned, there's 14 major ley lines that converge in the dead center of Stonehenge. It is a very powerful vortex. And there's 14 major ley lines that convene at Stonehenge, and if you could stand there in the center, I mean, multiple of your senses will be heightened. You would almost feel a low hum or a intense pressure there just because of all the convergence that's happening.
Do you pass information on through them?
No, it's more along the lines of making things easier. It's uh, more like the veins of the earth.
Can you transfer power from them? Can they
You
be?
can imbue things with power from them. Just like if I were to take, say, an almond or a pendant, and I could go to one of these nexus points, and with certain skill sets and certain abilities, I would be able to harness some of that river of energy and make that almond or pendant much more powerful. I mean, your monks have been doing it for eons.
And did the Druids build the Stonehenge?
Actually, yes, that is one thing that is correct. They wanted to be able to have a place of communion as well as a place of meeting and to share their energy with Terra. Okay.
So did each community have their own stone circle? And so what would they do there?
They would pray for a harvest. They would ask for a blessing. There was numerous reasons to go there. Almost like how people would go to a church today.
Right. And the Druids used to call themselves the Adder priests. Do you know any? And I also know that adders are the only snake that give birth to don't lay eggs. They give birth, don't they?
Yeah, the
So
adders. They
yeah.
they
So
live birth.
was there anything to do with the Saurians, the Druids?
No, not really. They were just That's just how their evolutionary tree split. They have, oviparous, and then you have, live birth.
Did they work with the Saurians? Because why would they call themselves the Adder priests?
That I would have to study more.
Yeah,
But honestly, I do
it's
believe so.
yeah, it's interesting. They called themselves the Adder priests, and then maybe they was working closely with the Saurians, because how would they have they got this knowledge of the ley lines and
Well, I almost believe that it was something you could feel. Those currents are that powerful.
right,
They
okay,
probably asked, why do I feel this way here? And the science was explained behind it.
right. Is it the same with the pyramids? I remember you saying the like the lowermost chambers you could what did you say there was? There was an entrance to some sort of gate or
Jump gates.
jump gate, that was it. So maybe the Stonehenge the same sort of thing?
No,
Right.
That would just be an amplifier.
Right, okay. And also the Egypt. Do you remember that Egyptian pharaoh that was depicted with the elongated skull?
Yes,
Um, was he a Saurian?
he was a hybrid.
Right. Because you see a lot. I know his body shape. That like the obviously body shape was very unusual, as well as the skull, obviously. Um,
Oh yeah.
but you see them in on Scythian statues, the same body shape. Is that what Saurians look like? The hybrids? Do you look more human as you go down the hybrid line?
Yes. Um, a pure saurian having offspring with a pure hominid would produce an elongated skull. We can still see some of this traits passed down, in modern people today.
Right.
Um, as far as elongated skulls, you can find these from Egypt all the way to Peru.
Was it, a lot of the pharaohs was they hybrids?
They tried. However, due to their personal belief about keeping the royal bloodline, free and pure, they pretty much damaged their own genetic code and were just bereft with health issues. You have to have a new influx of DNA or you enter a genetic bottleneck.
Was there too much inbreeding
Yes.
just within the pharaohs, or was that anywhere there was civilization popping up, like Sumeria, the Mayans? Was they all controlled by Saurians, hybrids?
I wouldn't say control, but worked in tandem. Hmm?
Was this a plan by the Saurians to obviously mix with humans because they could never pass off, you know, they could never take over as looking like a reptilian. So did they mix with to try and influence, human civilization?
No, we tried to show that we were companions. We were there with them, you
Yeah,
know, and you can look in the Sumerian tablets, and it says, when the gods like men bore the work and suffered toil, the toil of the gods was great, and the work was heavy, and distress was much. And that was by Anu and Enki.
I have trouble with understanding
I
that
believe it was.
a human woman would find a Saurian attractive enough to, you know, uh, do you understand what I mean? Or was it done in a lab? Was it like DNA?
Well, it would have been a religious experience for the hominid. I can say that.
Maybe you do get a lot of women that would like to, you get a lot of women that would maybe give themselves to that.
They could, but at the same time, the shock of being with a pure saurian for an unknowledgeable hominid female would be traumatic.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So maybe it was done in a lab,
So
or maybe
as
this is
they would
what is
take
this
measures.
what UFO when people are taken and they wake up with people looking over them? Could this be what that is?
Possibly, but my interpretation would be more along the lines of those people would have probably experienced a religious ritual. That's how they would have understood it.
Tribes of Israel that left. What happened there
Well, to my recollection, there was a great misunderstanding.
between the
The
Hebrews and the
they,
Saurians?
yes, the Mosaic doctrine did not mesh well with the way we were, and we tried to instruct them and say, "Look, it's okay to do this. It is, actually fine to do this. It's healthy to do this." But because of their doctrine, they viewed that as unclean or evil.
During the Black Plague in Britain, there was people seen with masks on and scythes. That's where death comes from in the myth.
Yes.
Now, there's people said like, obviously there weren't people scything fields when there was all this stuff going on, and they said there was like smoke coming from the scythes. which sounds to me like it was spread with like some sort of holes, for spreading disease. Was
Well,
that retaliation for what happened with George and the Dragon and everything like that?
not to my recollection. The smoke you were seeing would be the herbs stuffed down inside the mask that looked like a long bill. These were often ignited to smolder and to rid the caretaker of the bad vapors that were in the area. The scythe was not a bladed scythe as one would, cut a field with, but more of a crook that would allow the caregiver to remove the infected from a dwelling.
Have we always worked together, or has there ever been a time where we was at war?
Prior to the cataclysm you call the flood, that was an influx of people praying for salvation, again using the Mosaic doctrine. Hence, he built the ark, Noah. The attempt was to rid the world of any hybrids. Hence, there were none allowed on the ark. However, there are places that we were able to go to preserve our lineage. It would be on the same concept of you destroying one anthill in a forest. There's still going to be more ants.
So where did they destroy? Where was this anything to do with the story in the Bible where it says kill them and the cattle and the animals?
Yes, because again, the older species of cattle that were used to feed people were much bigger, and we assisted in this to, allow, less usage of the land, but still be able to give enough meat, enough, leather, enough product, just so we could sustain a population.
And that underground city in Turkey, was that belonging to the Saurians?
Are you talking about where the Spear of Destiny lies? That was one of the temples.
Really?
Yes.
So is the Spear of Destiny, is that a Saurian artifact?
Actually, no. That was a spear from Longus who used to slay a hybrid. And the blood imbued that spear just as much as we talked about ley lines earlier.
Right.
And I know you're going to get a lot of flack from that, but I would like to say one thing. John chapter 10, verse 16. It stated that Jesus had to leave this fold to speak to other people. Now, if the earth is a fold, don't you believe that he would be speaking to other intelligent life?
Yeah. What about the Holy Grail? Is that? Can you explain that? Do you know anything about that? Or is that just on about the Saurian bloodline?
The Holy Grail would be more along the lines of things that belong to someone who they revered. This could be as simple as a sandal or a robe. If kind of like if you had Michael Jackson's glove, it would be revered. Oh, you have the glove. Same concept.
Right. Yeah. So it's nothing like an actual cup or anything, or like.
Actually, it was a goblet.
Right. So it is a goblet. It's just who did it belong to? To Jesus.
Correct.
So that's why. Is Jesus a Saurian or a hybrid?
I personally believe he was a hybrid.
Right.
He carried the negative blood archetype. You know, it's one thing I really try to put towards people about the Gnostic Gospels as well. Anything that gave a woman power, she was either vilified as a virgin or a whore. Period. There was no in between. And, Mary Magdalene was no whore. She actually bore him a daughter. And that bloodline can be traced to the Basque region, where all people who carry the negative blood type originate today. That is the journey that Mary Magdalene took their daughter after Jesus was crucified.
Do you believe in giants?
Other attempts at hybridization with other species.
Which species?
There's a lot of answers to that question. The Anunnaki, the Elohim. I mean,
Right,
even Sumerians experimented with it. I mean, Enki is pictured with 4 wings, and we know that, you know, that's not good.
that means he was an Alpha Draconian.
Yes. But because he was able to shift, he was still portrayed as a bearded man.
So, in the tablets, the Alpha Draconians are shown as giving man technology, and like they don't seem to show anything where they was attacking us or anything like that. Can you explain why?
Simple. If you and I do not speak the same language and you don't have the same concept of, knowledge as I do, you come to my house, I hand you a garden tiller and point and show you, and you plow my field. I pat you on the head and give you a food reward. You know, in the pre-Terra time, one of these heavenly bodies sheared off a portion of the earth. This coalesced and became the moon. The moon on the far side is a thicker crust than on the side that's facing us. You can actually see the dark pattern in the moon as the lava flows when it did coalesce, and that side is thinner.
So, would you ever get the opportunity to go to one of the bases in outer space, or would you not get that opportunity?
Well, in the future, everybody will. However, there's some people that have no desire to be on a boat in the ocean. I'm one of those that have no desire to be, you know, torn from these earthly bonds that hold me here.
So, obviously, they have UFO technology, um,
Yes,
and is that what we see in the pictures and videos?
some.
Is that what Roswell was? Or was that actually the Greys
That was the Greys being sloppy with their own work.
with their own work? What do you mean?
When they came to try to speak with, our governments, talk about trading things for technology, i.e., copper was one of the biggest things. You know, back in those times, and still till present day, it was, oh God, the space invaders are here. We have to kill them or show a means of force.
So,
And that's pretty much what happened. They weren't expecting such a violent reaction.
so there was no contact before 1960s or 1950s.
Well, with Saurians, yes. With Greys, they tried, but again, you can see this, in the Pueblo Indians. They talk about the Star People.
And are Saurians cold-blooded?
Um, we do have some cold-blooded traits. However, it's not as you would see a modern reptile today.
If they live in cities underground, how do they stay warm? Is it all thermonuclear like power?
Yes.
Right. What about lights? Because I know reptiles need a lot of light.
Well, that could be, UVB rays can be obtained by mixing certain chemicals. Well, it's a matter of energy and memory sharing. You can feel that yourself. If you ever walked up to someone, you were like, I know this person. or I have a connection with this person and you've never even spoken a word to them. That's you receiving those shared images. They're projecting into you.
So if you was walking down the street and a hybrid walked past you, you could tell straight away.
I could, yes. You would just get a sense of deja vu, or I know him from somewhere, or I know her from somewhere.
And do you all meet, like all your hybrids in your local area? Do you meet and gather together? Is there like
Usually on
a
the
strong
solstice.
community?
Yeah, we usually meet on the solstice,
Right.
and it's a celebration because it's a place where we can share our thoughts, we can share our, knowledge, we can socialize. I was like, a lot of the summer concerts is a great place that we like to go. Hang on one second. I'm actually going to walk up to my offspring here and let them say something. What am I? Hang on a second. Lizzie.
What what about any secret tech? Can you tell us about anything like that? Anything that's gonna come in the future that we don't know about yet?
Neural interface input. That is going to be phenomenal for you guys.
And what's that, please?
Well, instead of putting data in on a phone or a tablet and actually actively touching, this would be mentally, neurologically linked to where you can think, open this, search here, go there.
What, and they'll have to be implanted, will they?
No,
Just like suckers on your head, sort of thing.
no, 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 no,
So you won't even have to have anything attached to you,
no.
right? Wow.
The receiving device will be able to receive mental signals. They're electrical, so those will be able to interact with modern technology or, future technology.
Yeah. Right. And how long's that away?
For you, probably about 5 to 10 years.
And what about you?
Oh, what about me?
Yeah. Do you already have it?
I have seen it, and it's very, very interesting.
So can I ask where you seen it? You don't have to tell us exactly the place, but did you? What was this like a meeting you seen it at, or was you in one of the
Well,
DUMS underground bases?
we do go to a base regularly. We went this past weekend, as you well know,
Right.
and there you can share or actually visualize for yourself.
So there's a lot of future tech there you can see.
Oh, yes.
And did you speak about our interview?
No,
Right. Did none of them know about it?
no, they know that I'm speaking out now.
Right. Can we go into runes a bit? Because last time we spoke briefly
I
on
would love
runes.
to.
Can you tell us a bit about runes and was Thor a Saurian or a hybrid?
Oh, what's it for?
Yeah, the god Thor. Was he a
Oh,
Saurian
the
or
god
a
Paw.
hybrid?
I am not familiar with him. Well, I do know that they are incorporated into our technology as well.
Right. And is that the fourth arc? The alphabet, the fourth arc?
Yes.
Right. So, it's very interesting. So there's ways to combine the runes to make powerful gates and stuff like that.
Yes.
Can you tell us
And when
what?
you were talking about,
Can you tell us what else they do?
well, they can heal, they can, preserve. They also can, assist in travel and protection.
And is that bind runes?
Yes.
And do you know who teaches that sort of thing?
Um, that is a little touchy because it can be either.
Is that classed as dark magic? Sort of secret?
Well, it's not really magic, it's just technology you haven't understood.
So, can you explain a bit how it works? Because I can't understand how. Is it something to do with scribing it into wood, or is it a way you put them together or join them together? I can't understand how it works. Is it
Well,
is
I
that
can draw something on a piece of paper
yeah?
and it is absolutely worthless. I can carve something into stone and it'd be absolutely worthless. They have to be imbued.
So what does imbuing mean?
Uh, you could bring them to a ley line nexus point and charge them almost like a battery
How long will that last?
beyond your time frame.
So that'll last for forever
Yes.
once the charge. But so at the minute I have runes, but they're useless because they've not been charged.
Or do you not know that they've been charged?
Well, I bought them offline. I haven't got. I don't know. When I in my teachings, it says to charge them, you put them in salt water overnight.
Well, that is a way to pull in energy.
Right.
However, by you can use a dowsing rod and find a nexus point near you and imbue them yourself, which will be much more effective.
So how do you imbue? Is it imbue?
Imbue.
Imbue. How do you imbue them? When once you get to the lines, if I just hold them in that power, do I have to say anything? Do I have to do anything?
Huh. Concentrate your energy over the top and focus on pulling energy through your runes into your hands and reflecting that energy back in.
Is this also chi? Is that anything to do with that? That power?
She is she is harnessing the ley line energy into your own body. You can see this with martial artists.
Right. And that make you more powerful and strong?
Yes.
Right. So do you think this is where the top fighters and they don't tell people this, but they know this really?
Yes, the information is out there. It's just a matter of you getting it.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. So is that does the astral projection work?
Yes.
So you can actually astral project.
Yes.
Can you do
Through
that?
lucid dreaming as well.
Is it all about meditation?
Actually, it's more along the lines of learning your own vibration that will allow you to do so.
So is breathing very important? Because I notice obviously. Have you noticed before, just before you start going to sleep, you start breathing in a very weird way, and then you suddenly go to sleep. Now, is there any other states you can reach by just breathing apart from sleep?
Yes, you can practice this yourself.
Can you tell us people where to go for that, or can you teach people that?
Well, it's very simple. You have to picture yourself in a sublime state with no interactions, no fleeting thoughts of, oh, I have to pay bills this week or I've got to cook dinner. You have to be in a completely relaxed state. There, you focus on one pinpoint of light, and your brainwaves will automatically start to alter. You will enter a pre REM status. You'll notice your breathing start to change, and there you can focus on what your goal is.
Does it take a lot of practice?
For long durations, yes. For
And
short durations, not so much.
I do have a book on astral projection. I do have a few actually. I have tried it. I tried it with a candle, and I just couldn't do it. Or is it a state of mind you have to be in, or not? Is there something I'm doing
Yeah.
wrong?
You have to push out absolutely every thought, every memory, just let them float past you. Don't focus on those, because the moment you stop and look or focus on that particular image, you're going to lose your train of thought.
So what do you want in your mind? Just blank, just black, empty space.
And focus on a pinpoint of light.
Right. Okay.
Not an actual light, but visualize it yourself.
So could you do this in the dark? And
You
then
can do this in the dark. You can do this in your living room.
right.
You just have to have no external, influence on you at the time. Oh, the bowl.
Yeah.
That helps you attune your vibration.
Right.
It'll help clear your mind.
Right. So can you tell us a bit about Tibetans? Because that's a very mysterious land.
Well, in Tibet, they were strongly influenced by the Naga or Nagini,
Okay.
and this is where they learned that technology and that ability.
So is it true they can levitate things just with sound?
Absolutely.
Is this the same technology that was used to build the pyramids?
No, it was actually a copper flux that was used to do this. However, you can move things with sound. There's a reason you have a certain range of hearing.
Right.
Hear something like that would be absolutely deafening and could cause you great injury.
Right.
That's why other technologies were developed. I mean, even now you can listen to some of our craft and hear a low humming, and people are like, "Oh, those must be the engines." No, that's the vibration of sound that occurs when the copper field is on the outside of the craft.
And also they talk about the land of Shambhala. Can you tell us what that is, or what that refers to?
Shambhala was a place of peace and of knowledge. Here, one could go to become enlightened and learn from the ancient teachings.
Is that underground then?
Partially, but most is above, or was.
Right. Have you ever heard of David Icke?
I've heard his name a few times, but I have not looked into him personally.
I mean, he talks about reptilians, but he doesn't mention saurians. I think he just brands them all into one to one thing. Can you tell us what you think about that? Like, what you think about people like he's just really negative about saurians or reptilians. He never mentions
Well,
anything good. Oh,
unfortunately, there are more negative, reptilian species than there are positive species.
right,
We only have two positives, which are the pterosaurian and the Nagini.
right,
You can look up the Bootians yourself and see, they're an offshoot of the Alpha Draconians who colonized their own, and they are pretty vicious themselves, and they have an inherent hatred for hominids.
yeah. In our previous interview, you mentioned that humans were slaves in a future war that we was created for that purpose. Can you explain about that, please?
Well, that was the Alpha Draconians and another hominid, or not hominid, a human-like species. They were at war, above Terra. Before it escalated into physical war, it was a Cold War state. The Elohim, which modified the mammalian ancestors to become humans, were going to be used for mining purposes, harvesting purposes, just for this species. This caused the Great Cataclysm, which is prior to the deluge.
Ah, right.
This was seen as an asteroid hitting the Earth.
I, I don't really like asking you this, Mel, but obviously I've got to ask you this. But why should we believe you?
I have no
How do
reason
we
to lie
know?
to you. I have no personal gains.
How do we know you're on our side? That's what I mean. Sorry.
Well, if I wasn't, would I be talking to you now? If you were my enemy, I would not pass on to knowledge information about technology, how things came to be. It would be in my best interest to keep you ignorant. People don't ask questions, especially when they're getting rewarded.
Because we have the church telling us you're bad. We have people like David Icke telling us you're bad. Um,
Well, look into your Egyptian temples and see the carvings. Those medical tools that are depicted, the scalpel, you know, everything is depicted on those walls. We still use those today.
there's even a picture of it looks like a reptilian saurian type being next to it looks like a big light bulb. Have you seen that one?
Yes,
So did you give us the light bulb? Is that what that is?
we attempted to.
What do you mean attempted?
However, tungsten was not a readily available material or knowledgeable enough to, recreate for your people at that time. Glass was easy. If lightning struck the desert, you had glass.
Can you tell us where there is an underground city of saurians in? You don't have to tell us exactly, but can you tell us maybe a famous one or a big one?
Montauk Point, uh, Fort Bragg, Cincinnati, Indianapolis, Duluth, Minnesota. I mean, there's several.
What about LA? Because there's a lot of stories about underground cities in LA.
No,
Or was that an
surprisingly
abandoned
not.
one?
That is where, when the people founded Los Angeles, began to build cities. They ran out of room, so they started building on top, and so on and so on. You can actually go into your own past and see your you know pre-technological cities there. They're incorporated into the sewer systems.
How did we lose all this history? Was it
Fear, religious, and political dogma.
how they differ from human?
Well, the light receptors in our eyes.
So you're more susceptible to light.
Yes,
Okay.
in different spectrums of color.
So you're colourblind,
No, quite opposite. We actually see more colors than you do.
right? So how many colours actually do you see?
Oh, we can see into the infrared spectrum.
Really? So can you see things we can't?
Some, yes. The more diluted a hybrid is, it's harder to see, but you still can see glimmers or shifts, almost like heat radiating off of pavement.
And was Jesus killed by the Saurians?
No, Longus was not a saurian, nor was he a hybrid.
Right.
As one thing about the Roman Church is they did not allow hybridization into their own fold. Believing themselves the pinnacle of all of creation, they didn't want any input genetically into their own, which we obliged. The ability to lock down your own personal thoughts and memories are not there. So if you were to go to a saurian and say, "My name is Tim, I live in Scotland," we would know, no, that's not the case. Your name is Andy and you live in blank. And I would really like for you to speak upon my behalf because there's a lot of people who doubt that.
That what, sorry?
The ability to see the truth of what and who you are.
Well, I'll tell them the story of I contacted you on YouTube on a message, and then you rang me. So from a YouTube message, you managed to get my number. You knew where I lived, and there's a few more things like so. How did you get that? Did you do that by gleaning, or
Yes.
was it through advanced technology, or
No,
just
just
contacts?
all you do is have to focus your energy into that one person and you can pull what you need.
So how did you actually know where it was to focus your energy? I don't understand how it works.
You, when you send a communication, you are sending sound, you are sending energy, you are sending your quote unquote chi through that message because you are attempting to open a line of communication. I just took that and broadened it. If you dilate that information tunnel, the more you dilate, the more you can see.
And you can astral project to my location.
That would take time because we have not physically met.
Right. You even told me what sex my dog was, so that scared me a bit.
Well, that and she likes ham or bacon.
Oh God. So I won't keep you much longer. What about time travel? Is that possible?
Absolutely.
So is that Saurian technology or is that human, or can we both?
That's universal. Once you can understand FTL, transit, which is faster than light, your physics now are going to be 1 + 1 = chair. It's not going to compute.
Right. Okay.
I'm going to send you an image that you can use
Yes.
for your interview,
Okay.
and it depicts all of the known locations of observation points.
That'd be brilliant. Thank you.
Hey, not a problem. It's a
Thank
pleasure.
you. Sorry,
The
go on.
more knowledge I can impart, the better I hope that, hominids will view us as trying to help still.
Yeah. No problem, Mel. And thank you very much. Can you just remind people your channel?
It's Reptilian Hybrid Housewife, and there I talk about different things. I also do a few videos where you can utilize those to focus your own energy and learn how to get to self-discovery, how to, expand your way of thinking. Also, just normal housewife stuff.
Right. Brilliant. Can we do this again in a week's time?
Absolutely. It's a
Oh,
pleasure
brilliant.
talking to you, Andy.
Oh,